conveniently got strep throat the weekend we were moving.
Oh, convenient. How convenient is that?
I just joke because we had a moving company, but then I had to kind of do all the other stuff.
Naturally.
She really did have strep throat, but I will never let her live it down.
That was well played, Laura.
Well, that's what I said.
Well
played. Well played. So if she is listening, or if she does listen to the replay, sorry I had to out you on that one.
Oh, there you go. That's okay. That's
exactly.
Could be worse.
Absolutely.
Before we get into it today, and we're going to talk a little bit about communication, and communication is so important to just daily life, and our conversation will probably blend life and business, obviously, because entrepreneurship is kind of intertwined with life, right? It's a lifestyle thing. It's a little different than working for somebody else or in a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, what I'd like to do when I cognitively remember each week is to chat with Mr. Matt Durzik about the week he's had on AM Beaver County. Matt hosts that show here 6:30ish to 9, Monday through Friday, and you're already giving me that look of distress, and I'm guessing it was one hell of a week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there might have been some world events that, may have preempted some interesting discussions, some interesting topics.
Yeah.
But on a more positive note, with Memorial Day coming up, we talked to a couple folks about the stuff going on with veterans in Beaver County. Richland Township, they're having their Memorial Day stuff Monday. That interview's up at beavercountyradio.com. And we did talk a little bit about the Pirates this week because, believe it or not, that 18-4 game was only 6 days ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, but yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty painful.
Yeah, I'd say.
It's pretty painful.
I mean, it was supposed to be 18-0, but the Cardinals decided, hey, out of here. Want to pitch? It's like, yeah. It's a joke.
Yeah. I'm feeling some pain, too. Baseball is just not fun this year. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
Well, that's all right. Neither of your teams are.
No, it's just not. Baseball is just not fun this year. I love it.
Yep.
It's not fun. We're definitely not going to talk about the event that happened. It's just beyond horrific because that's going to send callers down another pathway. So we're trying to find more positivity. So we're going to have some fun today.
Yes.
Trying to turn the corner from that a little
Yeah.
bit. The numbers to reach us, friends, in regards to entrepreneurship or any questions for Rocco, myself, or Matt. Any questions for Matt? 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. Those are the hotlines, and we welcome your calls either in the first hour or the second hour. We will be here, as we are every week, from 10:30 to 12:30 on Beaver County Radio. We're going to talk today a little bit about communication. Now, it sounds elemental, like, well, of course I can communicate. I'm a good communicator. Everybody has a high opinion of their ability to communicate with humans.
Yes.
I've always noticed that about, and even myself, I always thought, oh, heck, I'm a good writer. I'm a good expression of my thoughts and yada, 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 yada. But in reality, communication gets put to the test the moment you become an entrepreneur because you now probably have to communicate with different kinds of folks, maybe in different vehicles of communication. Sometimes the written word becomes very important with advertising and text messages and emails and things you might not had to have done prior life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things change.
Yes.
So Rocco's a great guy to talk about communication with. I know personally, I've actually learned a lot listening to him in regards to how he communicates and how he puts a high level of importance on it. So I'm going to open up this show by tossing it over to you about just your. I guess I would ask you first, Rocco, in business and in life, what are the core fundamentals of the way you view communication? For you personally?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So thank you for the compliment on my ability to communicate. Much appreciated.
It's a delaying tactic, man. Get with
it.
No,
it's not that. It's not. I was just
kidding.
I was being gracious.
I know you are.
So communication, you're 100% right. It's probably the most important thing you'll do as an entrepreneur. And there are different modes of communication: written, verbal, even how we're on video. Right, the way I communicate, the nonverbals matter. So if I had to say my communication philosophy, I mean, the first and foremost, it's listen more than you speak. I got that advice when I was a young lawyer from one of the partners I worked with, and we were preparing for a trial. And we were just talking, first year out of law school, didn't know anything. he said to me, one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give you is listen more than you speak. And he was referring to like when you question a witness. He's because people don't like silence. They will tend to talk more and tell you things they shouldn't. Now, I've taken that and just implemented that and just communicating with people because people like to talk, right? When I have a client come in, I want them to tell me their story. I need to know that they want to feel heard and understood. So that's my first tenet of communication. Listen more than I speak. 2 is the way you listen, right? Like we were talking on the way down. We're going through this to backstory is we are, my firm, we're doing a sales training with Chitwood Communications. He's been coming in, Jeremy's been coming in and training us on communication and the art of sales. And this past Thursday, our talk was about listening, active listening. And there are really 3 types of listening. And most people fall into the first or second. So the first type of listening is you listen to respond, right? You know when someone's doing that. You can see it in their face. They know what they're going to say before you even get the thought out of your mouth. Second type is listening to hear. They're listening to hear you. The third, which is the most important, and which is what I try and do at most, is listen to understand. Because that's how you create engagement with people. That's how you communicate with people, right? I have to actually understand what you are saying. And that boils down to me listening to the words, watching your body language, watching how you're sitting. Like if I was in a meeting with you right now, you're standing here with your arms crossed. But it's a closed stance. So you're not opened up yet. Now I can see in a meeting when I'm talking to a client, and if they start with their arms closed and they open them up, they've opened up to me.
Absolutely.
But these are the little nuances you have to learn to communicate. So to me, it's listen more than you speak, listen to understand, and then actually communicate in a way that the person receiving the information can understand. What I mean by that is
cater to your audience.
Cater to your audience, yeah. So I know, like, there are certain, like if I'm dealing with maybe, say, an engineer, they are very technically oriented, right? They need the details. I've got to walk them through the process of every little thing. Other people I know, okay, they just want the big picture. Like me, like I'm the type of person, if you're communicating with me, just tell me the issue. Do you have a solution or not? Or do you need my help? I don't need all the details. I don't need to know how you got there. I just don't, that's just not how I communicate. So it's understanding how an actual person communicates and how they receive information is extremely important.
It definitely is too. And now it's even more complex when you enter the world of written communication, email,
it's totally different.
Text messages. Let's talk about text messaging for a second. Because the reason I asked the question is, Rocco, text messaging became a quote unquote thing with the invention of the iPhone generally. Now,
Yes.
there was T9 texting prior. That's when you had to use the
I
buttons
remember.
on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
The
I
T9
could never figure that out. That was the
Yeah,
most complicated
that was
thing
too much work
ever.
That was too much work.
My old flip phone used to do
Yeah, I had
that.
a BlackBerry at the time, and I was still email was everything, right? So I went kicking and screaming even into texting. When I was running the guitar business, the last couple of years of its existence, when clients would text me, or even if friends or I was out in the dating world, I was getting a text from someone. It was almost like not insulting, but I was put off by it. I was like, no, send me an email.
Okay.
Then I didn't realize that society was changing. When I became a realtor, I realized that, oh, wait a second, this texting thing is the main way that most people are communicating with each other, which it drove me out of my mind. But I had to capitulate and had to figure it out.
Okay.
The difficult thing for me about texting, which you can also say the same about email, but I always thought that emailing was a little more of a formal communication. There was more complexity to the way that
Not a big word at all, man. Take that off the scoreboard, Matt. I'm just saying.
We're still scoreless.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
scoreless inning, brother.
Okay, scoreless inning. Anyways, complexity. Emails generally were more complex and more detailed, and there's a level of formality which I really liked. I could read it. It was
Sure.
And then texting came where people were just spurting out things, spitting at each other, I guess, just back and forth and little bits of information, sound bites, right?
Yeah.
And I found it highly ineffective to communicate with my vendors and my
Yeah.
clients and all this stuff. Then I saw emojis emerge.
Oh boy.
Then I was like, wow, how does this fit into the business acumen? Then I saw people taking that communicative style of texting and then integrating it into emails
Yeah.
with emojis and
Yeah.
smiley faces and short
Oh, yeah.
sentences and bullet points and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of gave up. I said, I have to join the club because the
Mhm.
rest of the world is operating this way. My point is, it's not the most effective way to communicate,
No.
and inflection and all the other interpersonal skills of a conversation, a physical conversation,
Mm-hmm.
are lost. And maybe emojis is an opportunity to maybe help show expression or feeling. It still pales in comparison to the effectiveness of a physical conversation.
Well, and here's my thing. Okay, personal communication via text and business communication via text are two different things in my mind.
They
right?
should be.
They should be,
They
right?
should be.
So I am the type of person. This is just me. If I have to scroll to read your text, I don't read. I just call you. Because
No wonder you call me so often.
well, but that's my thing. Like if it is something that takes you more than 30 seconds to type,
yeah.
that's a phone call. Just call. Leave me a voicemail
Or an email.
Or an email. Like I don't like. and I have just this week. I think I got 3 or 4 different texts from people that I had to actually scroll to read it. And I'm like, I can't read. My brain doesn't work to
Yeah.
read a text message to digest that information. That's either an email. Email me, so I'm sitting at my computer. I can read it, analyze it, understand, or pick up the phone and call me. If you don't get me, leave a voicemail. Leave that message on a voicemail
Right.
so I can hear. And then the other thing that just drives me crazy.
Here we go.
Well, no, when it's just a stream of consciousness text. It's just a lot of words, punctuation, forget it. It's
Yeah.
not there. Like, forgot about that. So it's like, where are the sentences stopping? Like, this is just a rambling of words.
They're
And-
sending you the message and making you do the work to read it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That is a great way of putting it because that's what it is, Matt.
Fantastic.
It is, they just dumped a bunch of words. I'm like, wow, okay, like a period would help, a comma, maybe a semicolon, something like if you're really excited, or the other one is the people that text in all caps,
Yeah.
or even I know people that email in all caps, and it's like,
Yeah.
are you yelling, or are you just hoping, or you think my eyes are that bad that I need all caps to read? I can't figure it out. Or I mean, we can go down many different ways with this because
Well,
I get
it's an
all of
important
this.
conversation because if you're starting a business and you don't iron out your method of communication and understand how the rest of the world's communicating so you can fit in there,
Yes.
you may have to compromise a bit.
Yeah, and with text message in a business setting, like I'm fine with people texting me, right? Short messages, or I'll respond back like, "Hey, got your voicemail in a meeting, call you back."
Yeah.
Like that's what I use for. I will never
That's how
send
he
somebody.
generally responds to me, no matter what time of the day. So
I
I'm
always
always
pick-
wondering whether it's actually a meeting or not.
Did I not pick up your phone call when you called me the
I'm
other day?
just kidding. I was shocked.
I always do, but that's what so I'll use text messaging for that purpose, right?
Right.
With I'm like, hey, just so I can acknowledge that I received what they sent or that I got the message, I will call you back. I'm in a meeting, or if someone sends me that long text message, I'll respond and say, call you in a few, because I just want to talk. I'm not going to respond over
Right.
text. I want to discuss this.
Right.
So as an entrepreneur, you kind of got to figure out what your communication style is. I would err on the side of brevity when you're coming, when you're using text messages.
1-0.
I didn't even think that was a big word, but okay.
I'll give that to you.
Thank you. Because I think that's what it has a place in the business world, right? Short communications, like bits and pieces of
Be
information.
there in 10 minutes.
Yes. If you have to write, or the people that do voice text and just talk for 10 minutes, which voice text is fine, completely fine. Like, I do that as well. But if I have to like open my phone and go like this,
Yeah.
I'm like, huh.
I'm guilty sometimes of doing text messages to my clients that I really should be sending emails. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I would probably be better served to say, hey, if I know that they're not great on the phone, I say, hey, I just sent you a detailed email. I should send that via text after I send the email.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To let them know it's
Yes,
there.
exactly. Yes.
We're going to go to Matt Durzik when we come back because I'm dying to hear
I know how
from a
Matt
different
texts.
demographic about text and any frustrations you have and all that good stuff.
I had a strange feeling it was going to get to demographics.
Yeah, because
And what emojis you use.
I
wanna
think
know
that
too.
matters. I think that matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
does.
In this conversation. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Beaver County Radio, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. We will be right back.
This year, bring an eagle to your picnic or outdoor gathering. Aliquippa Giant Eagle, that is. Much like the famed national bird, your event will also take off and soar as your gathered guests stand in awe. That's because Aliquippa Giant Eagle is making it easy and affordable to impress. For the main course, 80% lean ground beef and full racks of spare ribs are just $2.99 a pound. Ballpark franks are buy two, get one free. Bone-in strip steaks are just $9.99 a pound. Delicious sweet corn on the cob is just $3 for 10 ears. Picnic season is also graduation season. Right now, get $5 off graduation cakes from the Aliquippa Giant Eagle Bakery. Your Aliquippa Giant Eagle has the beverages covered too. Enjoy a full selection of wine and beer available in the store. Prices are valid through June 1st. Invite your friends and then make room for the Eagle to land. Aliquippa Giant Eagle in the Green Garden Plaza in Aliquippa.
Could you imagine a chronic illness where your body attacks itself, damaging your organs, your skin, and be life-threatening? It's true. It's called scleroderma. Help us raise awareness and funds by joining us June 4th at Boardman Park for our 19th Stepping Out to Cure Scleroderma Walk. Wherever you are in your journey, the National Scleroderma Foundation is there to help you find your best path. Can't be there in person? Join us virtually. Find out more at scleroderma.org/BoardmanWalk. That's scleroderma.org/BoardmanWalk.
The ballpark is coming into your living room or the dashboard of your car. That's because Pirates Baseball is on Beaver County Radio. Set the dial to WBVP WMBA 99.3 FM or 95.7 FM, and then turn the volume up to hear the most beautiful sound in the world. Pirates Baseball is sure to be a hit this year, and it's presented locally by the Beer Falls Municipal Authority, Express Employment Professionals, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, Falcones Boone Township Board, Keystone Wellness Program, and St. Barnabas, among others, right here on Beaver County Radio.
Now thundering through the valley on 4 powerful radio stations. It's Beaver County Radio on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA.
If I did that, Rocco, I'd probably be divorced.
Listen, marriage therapy.
Marriage therapy, yes.
Just about
Communications.
communication. It's just about
But, I
communication.
mean, this conversation can go all different directions. We'll probably get there. 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. We're talking communication. Supposedly, we're talking about communication and entrepreneurship, but I can just see where this is going.
This is gonna
We're
go down
talking
many
about
rabbit
life
holes.
things. But we're going right now to Matt Durza.
Yes.
Matt,
Well,
here
see,
we go.
Yeah, here we go. I first of all, I tend to agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. It is interesting though when you guys are talking about what should be a voicemail, what should be an email. That's almost becoming like a running joke among like my generation because someone says something like oh, this could have been an email, or oh, this could have been a phone conversation, and like voicemail, forget about it. It's just one of those things that it seems like that's kind of going out of the wayside. Is that
Like voicemail is going away?
Whoa.
a little bit,
Oh,
a
God,
little
I
bit.
hope not.
Again, my rule is if you don't leave me a voicemail, I'm not calling you back.
Yeah, that's the way I am too.
Because people I called you, I'm like, did you leave me a voicemail?
Yeah.
Because if you don't leave me a voicemail,
But
you
you're
made a-
right, Matt, because I've had people say, well, I tried to call you 4 times. And I guess I'm supposed to acknowledge the missed calls as a reason to call someone back.
Yeah, no,
and
I'm
I
not
don't.
doing
I
that.
don't do that.
I don't do that either.
Yeah.
It's
Well, see
principle.
that's different because our generation probably would say, "Oh, someone missed call," and if it's someone we know, then yeah, we'll call them back or we'll text them back or depending on whatever mood we're in that day. But if it's something along the lines of a number we don't know, and I think that's a big part of it too, is that now you know who's calling you. Now you have caller ID where you can say, this person tried to call me. I don't know if I want to talk to them, which is
Well, there's good
But-
and bad with that, I think.
Yeah, but I think the key though is that's for personal communication. In entrepreneur communication, it changes because you don't have the benefit of, choosing, your click, especially if you're running a public service or a public,
Well played.
Yeah.
because I mean, you be someone could be calling you interested in something that they want from you or something that they'd like to make a transaction for. So the the rules of the game per se change a lot.
Yeah, but I still think because look, I have a ton of clients. Do I have every number saved in my phone? No. Apple does a pretty good job of if it recognizes the number from somewhere in your phone,
Right.
it'll show you.
Right.
But the problem I have is now AT&T it used to show the number coming up. Now it says wireless caller. So I can't see the actual number because sometimes I may have just forgot to save someone's number. So to me, it's like, if you have to leave me a voicemail. Like just yesterday I had 37 missed calls. On most days, I have between 20 and 30 people just call, missed calls, and maybe that's 10 voicemails. But if you don't leave me a voicemail, how do I know to call you back? Or what is it even regarding?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Now that might be a reflection of age and demographics.
We are the elders in the room.
I get it, but effective communication means different things today.
What does it mean to you? So you asked me what is your communication philosophy? I will put you on the spot.
I have to understand. I have to seek to understand every communication, and I do it more and more the older I get. It's because I'm either more curious or more confused. I don't know, but I need to understand what's coming at me, and the only way I can do that is slowing it down. And if the other party won't slow their communication down, I have to intentionally try to slow both of us down. It's a tactic. It's a skill. Okay,
See, I'm the opposite.
Okay, well, I need to understand. So the only way I'm going to really effectively communicate back is if I understand what was being presented to me.
Okay.
And that always doesn't work because people come in conversations in different paces, and you and I have different paces of conversation.
Oh yeah, I talk way faster than you.
I talk pretty fast I talk fast by default, I think, but I've learned to intentionally slow it down.
Yes.
I know when I do my podcast, the Eric McKenna Project, I have to sit and intentionally slow. They laugh. I call it slow my roll because I slow myself down so that it's interesting in conversation. If you slow things down and you become pretty good at it, the other person generally, if they're vested and they're going to stay, they will start to slow it down.
Mirroring.
It's mirroring even when they don't understand. It's mirroring.
Yes.
It's a phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just again understanding. And when you talk about written communication, if I don't understand, I'm not going to effectively converse back with you because I just don't know how to.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the frustration I have with the texting medium. Now, I am guilty of being a hypocrite because I use it all day long in the realtor practice, all day long, even with my show guests, things I'm involved with. And of course, I become sloppy at it too, and I'm guilty of using emojis. I feel corny when I use emojis, but you know what? I find myself using them all the darn time now.
That's okay.
So it's weird how you just realize your new reality and you just adapt, right?
Yeah.
But I yearn for the BlackBerry era where everything was emails or phone calls. I yearn for that. Emails were detailed at one time. I love detailed conversations in any capacity.
Yeah, see, the detail sometimes I need enough detail, but not too much. Because I remember when I was in corporate America, we had a particular finance person, and Ashley, who worked for me in corporate America. When he would send emails, I would just send them to her and say, "Tell me what this says," because it was just too much information. I'm like, I don't need. Is this something I need to do? Read this, digest it, and tell me, is this something I need to know, or is there something I need to do? I think the other thing I do, which has been really helpful when I talk to clients, I ask them what is your preferred way to communicate? Would you rather me email you, text you, or call you? Because then at least you set the boundaries, right? You set the parameters, and I appreciate that when clients ask me that as well. Because clients call me on my cell phone. They all have my cell phone. They say,
which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, but it's I want to be accessible. I'm here to help clients. It gets I'm a lawyer 24/7. I don't just turn it off. So
that's him and I complain about communication.
but I do appreciate when clients ask, how would you prefer me to communicate with you? And I typically say if it's a lot of information, just email me. If it's a quick question, feel free to shoot me a text or give me a call. But if it's a lot of information to get to me, shoot me an email so it's in my inbox. And I can read it, understand it, digest it, and then respond accordingly.
Yeah, I got an interesting commentary on that. When we come back, friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik, on 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA, the new 95.7 and 99.3 FM, always presented by St. Barnabas and always streaming live at beavercountyradio.com. We will return.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The NRA is bracing for protests this weekend during its annual convention, this one being held in Houston just days after the Texas school shooting. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner said in remarks airing on KTRK, protests would be allowed, but only within legal limits.
We will respect everybody's right to protest and speak their concerns in their voice. We will not tolerate destruction of property, nor will we tolerate people assaulting individuals.
The actions of a school district police chief are coming under review after a slow response from police during the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Authorities acknowledged on Friday children and teachers repeatedly begged 911 operators for help, while the police chief told more than a dozen officers to wait in a hallway at Robb Elementary School rather than confronting the shooter directly inside the classroom. An effort, meanwhile, to ease some of the pain in Uvalde. Here's Rhonda Rockstra.
An anonymous donor will take care of funeral expenses for all 21 victims of Tuesday's massacre at Robb Elementary School. At a news conference Friday, Governor Greg Abbott announced the donation of $175,000 so that, quote, every cost of every family concerning anything about funeral services is going to be taken care of. The governor didn't give any indication as to who the benefactor is, but added the state is also providing free mental health care to anyone in the community who needs it. Rhonda Rockstra reporting.
Russia-backed separatists claim they captured a railway hub in eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Britain's foreign minister, Liz Truss, commented yesterday after meeting with a Czech foreign minister in Prague.
Now is not the time to be complacent. There should be no talk of ceasefires or appeasing Putin.
Moscow's forces did push to gain more ground Friday, pounding another Ukrainian-held area where 1,500 people have died. More from townhall.com.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and start getting cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code SALEM for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. That's promo code SALEM. Remember, use promo code SALEM for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up.
North Korea says of more than 3 million COVID cases, only 69 patients have died.
If the deceased were all virus patients, it would suggest the coronavirus fatality rate of 0.002%, something no other country has achieved. But there are widespread doubts about the credibility of North Korean tallies.
As correspondent Charles De Ledesma, Florida will now require statewide recertification of condominiums more than 3 stories tall. Under new legislation, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed.
DeSantis has signed the bill as a response to the Surfside building collapse that killed 98 people. Recertification will be required after 30 years or 25 years if the building is within 3 miles of the coast, and every 10 years thereafter.
As correspondent Jeremy House at Champlain Tower South was 40 years old when it was undergoing its recertification. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Southern Baptist leaders released a secret list of accused abusers.
Top Southern Baptists have released a previously secret list of hundreds of pastors and other church-affiliated personnel accused of sexual abuse. Survivors and advocates have long called for a public database of abusers. The publication of the list was a response by the Southern Baptist Convention's Executive Committee to an explosive investigation into the committee's mishandling of sex abuse reports and mistreatment of survivors.
That is Walter Ratliff reporting. Jury deliberations have begun in the Washington trial of a lawyer for Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, charged with lying to the FBI early in the Trump-Russia probe. A prosecutor told jurors Friday that attorney Michael Sussman hid his partisan interests from the FBI as he pushed what they called pure opposition research related to Donald Trump and Russia in the weeks before the election. You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com.
Honoring Memorial Day with St. Barnabas Broadcasting.
All right, we're back. We really should film these in between commercial breaks.
We should.
But we have careers, though. That's the problem.
We do.
Also
Well,
true.
Yeah, that is a problem. That is a problem. Yeah, we wouldn't have careers much longer after that, for sure. Maybe. Well, we're entrepreneurs. We know we would.
We just talk about enjoyable stuff.
we can't do it for Matt's sake, for sure.
Yeah.
Matt might lose his broadcasting ability for the rest of his life.
Yeah. FCC wouldn't like it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
no,
We have to watch what we do here. Friends,
Yeah, no.
724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. Listen, I got
What kind of voice was that?
That's like the well, I can't say that. One of the more popular rock and roll stations in Western Pennsylvania. It was an influence to me when I was growing up. They had DJs that would talk real low. This is Led Zeppelin. And I've always really liked that about broadcasting. They left these particular iconic broadcasters left an impact on me, Rocco.
Yeah.
Their communication skills on air left an impact on me.
You know, it's funny. You say that, and it just reminded me. We were talking over the break about like comedy and stuff like that. There was an old SNL sketch from the 70s with Dan Aykroyd where he was a DJ and he had this little flip switch in the middle between AM and FM. So he would do an AM where it's like, you're listening to, the Bay City Rollers, and coming up next is KC and the Sunshine Band. Flip over to FM. And now on the turntable. It was so good. It was so good.
Well, you know what? I'm old enough to remember the invention of FM. It became a thing like in the early 70s, late 60s.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can't say I remember the switch over because there wasn't a switch over. Both existed, but it was instantaneously notable even to me as a young kid. Like, wow!
Well, technically,
look how clear that is. Like, it sounds like they're sitting in my living room.
Well, technically speaking, FM's always been like that, and FM's actually been going all the way back to I think like even the late 40s or early 50s. But it never became. Became a stylistic thing around that time that you mentioned, late 60s, early 70s, where FM became FM.
And Steely Dan wrote a song about it.
That is true.
And
they made a movie about it.
We should do a whole episode with deep voices.
Yeah, you can't pull it off. You don't have it. Well, how do we get here? Communication.
You get us here, man.
Communication.
Yeah, communication. Yes. It is the most encompassing topic we could ever talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? Talk about it. Communication.
Yes,
you get. Okay, you're there. You're on.
Double entendre.
If you had, listen to that. That's lawyer speak. Yeah, he's up 2-0 now. Come on, we gotta get our game together here, Matt. We can't let him run away with it.
No, of course not.
It's probably more a conversation about life, right?
Yeah.
But how important is communication in business? I mean, we learned this. I know I learned it as a young corporate hack.
Yeah.
For all the years I was in corporate America, and then it helped me be an entrepreneur in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me, and it was really interesting because you probably have a little bit of this as an attorney because you're seeing clients from all demographics.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
In the music industry, I went into that kind of with blinders on. Like, I came from a corporate environment, and I had a weird run. I was with a transportation company.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did financial services for a short period of time. Then I went into communications with like cell phones and pagers, working with a variety of clients, but generally business clients.
Okay.
Then for a year, I went and worked in the trash business, and I sold roll-off boxes and dumpsters for a year.
Did not know this.
Did that, and went back to paging. So I had this kaleidoscope of customer types, right?
Yeah.
Then I started a business where I had to communicate with executives that were owning musical instrument companies, designers, and ultimately my clients who were generally creative musician types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So their methods of communication were so different than my actual vendors were. There was almost a disconnect. Like I needed to be the intermediary because I could never see these business folks creating the instruments and paying for the instruments creation ever interacting, like going direct to public. I don't think many guitar companies do that. Maybe a couple, but I didn't think that was a good business model if you went direct, because I thought there'd be a disconnect between the end user, the ultimate guitar player, and the business executive at the guitar manufacturer.
Yeah.
So my job was this intermediary, and I had to learn right away that, look, there's a bunch of different ways to say the same thing, and you hope you would learn this in life too, right? Delivery is everything, but really I had to hone that skill. I had to realize the person buying this $5,000 guitar from me might be paying $5,000, but this is a creative type of person writing music, playing out every night, and they're going to come at this communicative conversation different than the executive at the guitar manufacturer who was paying, the bills and keeping the, it's a different kind of communication. I had to realize that, Rocco, because had I not made a cognitive switch to be aware and to listen, I would have made it. It was that important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we in our entertainment law practice, right? Like I deal with that. So I deal with clients in that space, and
got it.
I have to, what I try and do when I'm speaking to those clients, I know they're creative, right? So they're looking for peace of mind from me. They're looking to make sure that I'm the guy that can handle the problems. I'm the guy that can navigate the legal world for them. But two, I become very cognizant of the language they use in the conversation. I try to mirror the language. If they are using very creative type terms and kind of using the lingo, then I've got to go that way. If they are just a deer in headlights, meaning they have no idea what to even talk about, then it's my job to give them my hand and guide them along 100%. The path. But that's a skill you have to pick up, right? You've got to actually take a step back, listen to people.
It really requires knowing your industry,
knowing the industry, and also knowing people, right? That communication really is. If you boil it down to its essence, it's understanding the human condition. Like, you have to understand people. Listen to the inflection in their voice. Listen to the choices of words they use. Like, I love to communicate in person.
Me too.
Because the nonverbal is 70% of the conversation. If I'm on the phone, all I can do is really fine tune my ear to hear inflections in voice and pitch, how they use words, how they structure their sentences, because that'll give me insight into how they communicate and what really matters to them. When I'm sitting across the table from someone or next to someone, then I watch their body language, how they're moving, how they're sitting, where their eyes are, where their hands are, like the way they look, or the excitement on their face when I say a certain thing, or if they get this fear in their face and we go on a different path. That's stuff I have to pick up on.
Right.
But that's the art of communication.
Right.
It's an art form. As an entrepreneur, if you can devote your time to developing one skill set, that's it. Communication. It's everything. Even the written side of it, right? Like, I'm a lawyer. I write for a living. The way I structure a sentence, or where I place a comma in a paragraph, can change the entire intent and meaning of
that skill has been lost. In today's society, in 2022, punctuation,
what's that?
It has been lost. And probably, to me, I mean, you think we laugh, a period's important, right? Exclamation point's important. How abused is the exclamation point?
Everything's exciting.
Right. But the most important, to me, punctuation designation is the comma, because the comma placed incorrectly or haphazardly or omitted changes the entire sentence.
Absolutely right. Especially in my profession, that's critical, because if that sentence is structured the wrong way, and the reasonable person could read it to mean something else, then I did my client a disservice. So I need to understand the proper placement of punctuation and commas in sentence structure, and how I communicate certain things. But that goes with anything, right? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, you're going to sign contracts, you're going to read contracts, you may not use a lawyer, even though you should. You may not, or you're going to write things, out in the world, on social media, in your advertising. You got to understand how to communicate properly and effectively.
It's also a reflection of your business. And that might be hard to grasp when your business is young, about how important the reputation component is. You say, oh, I know it's important to have a good reputation. I'm sure you get that conceptually. but you'll never understand the weight of how important that reputation is until you're in there a little bit, until you're doing it maybe a year, 2 or 3, right? It becomes everything, and your written style and the way you communicate with people. Like when I hear a client come to me on a referral and they say things, that, Eric, we heard that you take such good care of your clients, and you talk to them so frequently. You always update them. You're always in communication. That's the kind of stuff I want to hear, because because it isn't always easy.
Yeah,
because you're doing a lot of work, a lot of different hours of the day, and you're taking time to take a deep breath and articulate things, right? Because no one picks up the phone anymore.
I do.
So yeah, you do. But ultimately, that's the kind of thing that I need to hear. That's where my quote unquote reputation, or a good part of my reputation, is, and my ability to communicate with my customers. That yields me more business. And that's applicable in any field.
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to be valued on the way you communicate, because people want to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I would encourage people to seek out what people think of them, or ask people, how do you think I communicate? Do you believe I communicate? Because we all think we communicate effectively and efficiently and in the right manner. I ask people, did that make sense? Did what I say to you, does that resonate with you? Like asking people, is my style of communication effective for you? That's just how you get better, right? I need to know when I'm talking to people, are you getting it? Are you lost? Am I saying things that hit home with you? Another part of the communication aspect is really understanding a person's energy, right? If a client comes into my office and they're super excited about their business, and I'm just coming in very matter of fact, well, here's what we're going to do, step 1, step 2, step 3.
I can't imagine you ever.
No,
feel that way,
that's not me. No,
that's not you.
But I've seen other lawyers do it. Right?
No. For sure.
But so I have to match that energy. Or if someone comes into my office, and they're in a very tough situation, I've got to be empathetic and really keep. But that's part of communication as well. Like people need to understand. There's so
you got to
many
give them
pieces
what
to
they need. Ultimately, and that's customer service. That's providing a service to the marketplace.
But it's
giving
communication.
people what they need. But yes, how you communicate your empathy, your excitement, how you communicate yourself to the client, and what you extract back from them in a manner in which they want to communicate. That is the ticket, man. That is the goal. That's the golden ticket for success, right?
Yeah. Again, just being able to communicate with people. The best businesses I find are the people that just know how to communicate with their customers and remember certain things, like just take the initiative and put in a little bit of effort. Like where I get my haircut, Imperial Barber Company, awesome there.
I remember those days.
I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say that.
That's a bad example, Rocco.
That's a terrible.
We have a live stream here; they can see me.
but what I would say is, that place, like they do it really well because they communicate with people effectively. They make you feel comfortable. They remember certain things. Like Eric, the guy who the owner, and who cuts my hair, like he's fantastic. Like he gets it. Like I watched. He remembers certain things. He asks questions. He communicates effectively, but he doesn't over communicate. Because some people, have been to other barbershops where they over communicate. They're very good at gauging the energy, and I've seen other businesses do that too, where I've worked with other insurance agents or accountants where they just want to dump all this information. They're not reading the room. They're not reading the person. You have to understand. You have to be able to take a situation, take a person, take a customer or client, understand who that person is, and communicate with them effectively in the way that matters to them. It's not just about regurgitating or shoving information down a person's throat.
No.
But so many businesses do that. So many entrepreneurs do that. They want to show you how smart they are, how much information I have. You're picking the best person because I know all this stuff. It's like, I don't care. I need one thing. Can you do it or not? Like, that's it. It's just, it's the art of communication it's fascinating to me because it matters so much. And it is the true key to success in life, in business, and everything.
Oh, and it bleeds right over into your life.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's almost impossible to separate the two.
You can't.
We're having fun, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Time is just
I
flying
like to
by.
think so. Yeah.
Friends, you're listening to The Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. on Beaver County Radio. Always streaming live at beavercountyradio.com and always presented by St. Barnabas. We will be, I hope, right back.
The following announcement has been authorized by the St. Barnabas Voting Action Committee and is not authorized by any candidate. The future depends on you making the right decisions in this year's Best of the Valley election. Please visit timesonline.com/contests and vote for these endorsed candidates.
For Best Dental Clinic and Dentist, select Dr. Henry J. Windle.
For Best Grocery Store, vote for Tusca Plaza Shop and Save.
For top employer over 500 employees, choose St. Barnabas Retirement Living.
For the Best Employee Recognition Program, pick Beaver Meadows.
Visit timesonline.com/contest today and choose these candidates as the best of the Valley.
This is William Day, President and CEO of St. Barnabas. Our primary goal is to serve you, and I approved this message.
I'm State Senator Jim Brewster. This summer, many Pennsylvanians will spend time on our beautiful rivers and lakes. Please follow these safety tips to enjoy those special moments fishing and boating. Remember to wear a life jacket while boating. It's simple, but a life jacket really does save lives. All children aged 12 and under must wear a life jacket. Don't drink while boating. The rules are the same as driving a car. Officers will be on patrol looking for signs of impairment. Have a float plan. Before you head out, send a text to someone and let them know you're on the water. And don't forget to check the weather forecast. For more information of safe boating, visit my website, senatorbrewster.com or www.fishandboat.com. I'll see you out on the water.
74 years into this, and we're still making waves, figuratively in your community and literally in the air. Check out the newest member of the Beaver County radio family, the all-new 95.7 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, along with 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA.
We really do need to record these breaks.
Gives a lot of good advice on the breaks, man.
I don't know if it's
changing lives.
I don't know if it's suitable for prime time, but it's definitely interesting for sure.
Be on cable.
You can't communicate effectively with somebody if you don't care. Am I right, Matt?
That is true. That's absolutely true. Especially if you're trying to become an entrepreneur. Even your personal life, if you're not even an entrepreneur, you should probably try to understand people, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into actually dealing with other people, you get into a business where I'm going to be the one that's sort of running the ship, and I want this to be a business that appeals to as many people as possible. Then at that point, you have no choice. You have to understand. Now, I think the challenge is, and you guys can counter me if you think that this is a little off base.
Oh, we will.
You don't have to tell us twice.
But I think one of the biggest challenges when it comes to that is having such a wide array of different people that could be your clients. Like I know, Eric, you were talking about when you were in the guitar business about how, most of the people you dealt with were either, guitar manufacturers or rockers, which are two different audiences, but just two mainly.
Right.
Whereas,
Very true.
like let's say if you're willing to open up like an ice cream shop, just as an example. I feel like I keep coming back to that, but whatever.
Awesome.
And you don't know what kind of customers you're going to get. You're going to get customers from all around.
That's kind of Rocco's field.
The communication spectrum.
Yeah.
Which I think what I'm trying to say is that where do you draw the line between trying to acknowledge every customer one by one and sort of empathizing, understanding them personally, and then pulling back to just sort of create this general sort of sense of how you're going to communicate with somebody based on just the fact they're a human being.
Good question. I'm going right to you, big boy.
That's a good. I think this is a good one. So for the ice cream example, right? Like you're selling a product there. So I look at it like you have to the business has to communicate in a way that invites customers in. Like we're fun. We have the best ice cream in town. Like that's your communicate. Like we have the best ice cream in town, and we love our customers, and we treat them a certain way, right? But that's every customer because they're to your point, Matt. Very diverse group, from kids to older people to everyone in between, right? That's going to be your customer.
Mm-hmm.
To me, everyone that comes in the door, I have to care about, or I should not bring them in. I have to actually care about what is on their plate. So the way we communicate, it varies depending on each individual person, because these are very,
there's complexity.
So I may have, a few hundred clients at a time that we're working on different things. So there's a lot of things in my head, on my plate, in my to-do list. But when that client comes in, that thing they're dealing with is the most important thing in their life at that moment. And I have to make them feel that's the same for me, because it is, because I do actually care. I want to help that client. I want to make sure they feel secure choosing me to be their lawyer, that they feel like I have their back, and I will tell them the truth and not just BS them and tell them what they want to hear. Because there's many times where I tell clients things they don't want to hear, but they appreciate it because it's the honesty. It's like, this isn't going to work. I've seen it. It's not going to work. Here's a way I think it could work. Think about that. But they have to feel, and I have to make them feel. And the only way I can do that is actually care that their problem actually matters to me. Like, it's a different level of communicating from an ice cream stand, right? You just have to treat customers well. Like, you
the
can't
transaction
be rude.
is not very.
It's a transaction.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
It's not hard.
You create a brand. You communicate your brand, right? Like, we are the best ice cream made from organic ingredients, and we care about the environment.
Well, the
we care about
interaction is
people.
limited.
Correct.
In scope.
Correct. It's, I come up, I pick chocolate, you put it in the cone, I give you money, I walk away, eat it. Delicious. As long as there's nothing bad that happens, no one's rude to me, and the ice cream's good, great experience. Me, what I do, that's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're deciding to get into a relationship with one another. Different level of communication.
For sure. And I think ultimately, too, it's like a learned skill, right? The more you concentrate on becoming a better communicator, it's just like anything else. It becomes ingrained in who you are, and you will develop your own style and your own, but it'll bleed over into other aspects of your life. And I think that's very positive. I mean, entrepreneurship was so good for the rest of my life, especially in, really understanding the idea of reputation, the idea of good transactions. If you maneuver through life and you don't have the habit of trying to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else, and everything is about going and getting and taking the things you need and just maneuvering through life, which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship for me in commerce showed that I needed to try to understand the perspective and views and the wants of other people, putting myself in their shoes. And you would like to think when you're younger, you learn that, right?
Sure.
Walk in the shoes of others to try to better understand. It's a selfish world,
sure,
right? So I think a lot of us maneuver through our personal lives, me included, at times being very selfish. This forced communication for commerce purposes made me a better human.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And that's what communication does. So I want to go back to another point that I just remember as I'm looking down at my phone. So we had these sales trainings this week, and this is something I've always done, but he reinforced the point that, let me ask you a question. When you are sitting there with someone talking to like a new client, where's your phone?
It's on the table turned over.
Okay.
So it was naturally the ringer's off.
Okay.
But the screen is turned over. It's not visible. Now listen, if it's the winter and I have a suit jacket on, I have a blazer, or I have my bag or my briefcase, or I'm carrying something, it'll be off the table. Right now it's the summer. I'm walking in probably with just my phone and an iPad.
Okay.
But I turn the screens over so there's not visible, not just to me, but it also shows the client that I won't be distracted by anything.
Okay, but I will tell you something which they've looked at, that even the fact that it's on the table is a distraction.
Interesting.
So I know every meeting I'm in, that phone's in my pocket. Like it's in my pocket, and I notice when people's phones on the table, I'm like, they are not 100% invested in this conversation.
I have to reassess that then.
Because we had this, it's like the digital distraction, because because that's what people think. Oh, I just turn it over. No, it's why does it need to be on the table?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because there's no reason to be on the table.
Very good point.
If I may counter, if I may.
Attorney speak.
Counterpoint. Let's go.
Attorney speak.
Let's go, Matt. I'm ready. Put the gloves on.
I agree with the psychological sentiment of having it on the like right now. My phone is on the counter here.
Yeah,
and
so is mine.
I don't plan on looking at it until the break.
Sure.
Even if I do, but I think there's the other thing too. Eric was mentioning seasons there of how it could be in your pocket or anything like that. I know for a fact too, it depends on the size of the phone. It depends on everything else. There is a physiological adverse reaction sometimes to having your phone in your pocket because it could be fragile and it could just sort of, like I'm a bigger guy. When it's just sitting in my pocket and it's like maneuvering around, just start jutting into your leg a little bit.
Okay.
There's a reason why it's out on the table because I don't want to have that feeling in my pocket. It's not a communication thing.
I kind of have to agree with them.
No, look,
I don't like sticking mine in my pocket either.
I understand, and
but the visual cue is what you're talking about.
Yeah, because like I know, like the first thing when I'm meeting with someone, so I always make sure my phone's in my pocket and it's on silent, right? So I want them to know that they have my undivided attention. Now, if we're like in a meeting in the office, we're all just talking, like my phone may be out because we're having, passive conversations with one another. But if I'm actually in a meeting with a client or a new client, it's in my pocket, or maybe even sitting on my desk in my office, right? If I'm in the conference room. But I notice if someone's phone's out on the table. Because to me, it's like, what is more important than this conversation right now? And and it drives me crazy when I see people, they look down, like if a text message pops up, I'm like,
but that and the shame of it is that is reality.
Well, and that's the thing. I think people don't even realize they're doing it, especially a younger generation. They don't realize it. It's just an automatic habit. I don't think there's any ill will or intent.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I'm 44 years old. Like I'm the generation X.
You remember the pre-internet days.
I remember
and
before I had a phone, and and it's. But I noticed that. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like if you are younger and you're going to be doing business with people my age or in our demographic, I'm noticing that. That's the first. If you are meeting with me and trying to convince me of, I've had people come and try and sell me things like for the office. If their phone's on the table, they've lost the sale. It could be life-changing stuff.
Rocco knows this story, but I want to share this. It's very quick. I've been with multiple people. I've sat in meetings with multiple people who have been so distracted at their phone. I've gotten up and walked away from the table to take a phone call.
Yes.
Without even really excusing themselves. It's almost like it's expected. You're supposed to understand that when my phone rings, that's so important that I need to take it.
Yeah.
It's again, not malice, and I don't think anyone's doing it intentionally to I don't know, big time.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think we're so ingrained now not to give the other person in the conversation the attention that's required for full understanding or the respect to make them feel like they're part of a two-way communication.
Yes.
That's a sin, I think.
Yeah. My two rules are if you invite me to the meeting, be there on time and don't be distracted. Like that's it. And we will do business together. If you invite me, if you say, "Hey, I'd love to get lunch with you. I want to talk to you about something. I have something I want to sell you. I have something I want to discuss with you." Cool. If you say noon, be there at noon. Like show up on time. And two, don't be distracted. And if you are distracted, just say, "Can you excuse me? This is a client. I've been waiting."
That's just
all
courtesy.
You have to do is just give me the explanation. No problem. I get it. But I hate, like I've had it happen. You know the example I'm talking about.
Yep.
Just invites me to lunch, comes down, shows up a little bit late. Okay, comes in, sits down immediately, and then takes a phone call and doesn't even say anything. And I'm like, dude, you invited me. Like, I didn't reach out to you. You invited me to this lunch. You wanted to pick my brain.
Is that more? Let me ask you this question because I want to go to you next, Matt. Is it more an issue of? I won't say bad or good. It's not judgmental. It's just a procedural thing. So bear with me. Is it more a issue of different etiquette in society and business based upon different generations coming into the workforce? I won't say lack of etiquette, just a different etiquette.
Right. I know what you're saying because the two things I sort of thought about was I completely agree with the common courtesy thing, especially when it comes to one-on-one meetings that are set up.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're setting up an interaction with somebody, you're giving them your attention. You set aside that part of your life to give them attention.
Yes.
However, to Eric's point, which is the idea of generational things, I don't think it's so much generational. I mean, it's kind of by proxy generational, but I think it's the technological advancement that has created the change in etiquette. And because of, it's not just texting, it is the entire smartphone evolution from cell phone to smartphone to what it is we have now. And I think what it is created is this, this technological immediacy, which has created a societal immediacy to stay in contact with everyone and everything.
It's so unnecessary.
I mean, but again, that part of it might be generational. That part might be generational where, it's a matter of, I don't have to get to that right away. For a lot of people, they do have to get to it right away because they have the technology to do that. It's sort of it reminds me of a quote I saw, I think, in Rolling Stone in 2007, I want to say it was. The Eagles had just made their album, Long Road Out of Eden, and they were talking to Joe Walsh, and he was talking about, somewhat cynically, he was talking about Pro Tools and how they use that now, and they're saying, well, we have Pro Tools now that we can use. Why? Because we can. And it feels like a lot of people in the smartphone generation are having that same sort of mentality when it comes to communication. We have to do this right now because we have the technology to do so. But I don't agree with that. I think, especially when it comes to, dealing with communication. I mean, if you give into that immediacy, you're sort of taking that away from yourself. You're taking that away from yourself far as, allowing yourself, the chance to focus, allowing yourself the chance
Well, that's sophisticated thinking, which you just articulated, which I will venture to say that most people will not go that far in self-examination.
Right.
They just won't.
And Al Counter was saying that being sophisticated and losing focus is not a generational thing based on technology. We've had that for centuries.
I would agree with that as well, 100%. And the bottom line is the technology dictating the way you're going to maneuver and treat people, or are you going to use the technology to benefit yourself but also curb it to be kind and use what I deem to be, again, proper etiquette and respect toward others? See, I don't want to be a slave to what this can do.
Yeah, but look, if you want to be successful, it's the latter. Truly, if you want to be successful in business, technology cannot dictate. You dictate technology.
It's a tool, right?
It's a tool.
It needs to be used.
It's an effective tool.
But even in your life, right? I mean, I don't want my phone to run my life.
No, I mean, so look, technology is great. Right, my entire life is on my phone. Right, I can access everything I need for my office, anywhere I need, everything. However, I will tell you this: to be successful in business, right? It's developing relationships with people, connecting with people, communicating effectively. If you can't break the chain of your phone when you're in communication with someone or in a meeting with someone or trying to connect and engage, you're dead in the water, in my opinion. You will not be as successful as you can possibly be. Again, the example I gave, like, I would never do business with that guy.
Right.
Just from that one interaction.
Right.
Like,
first impressions still are everything. They always will, but you can't take that out of society.
No, you can't. And you have to understand that, these are things that you may not think people notice it, but they do. If I'm noticing it, other people are noticing it.
Oh, certainly.
And it's not hard to just put it away.
Right.
Like, do you need to deal with this right now? No. You should be dealing with what you're in right now. If you're in a meeting and if someone wants to engage with me and schedules an hour of my time, give me your full attention. I will do the same.
Yep. It's not a lot to ask.
No. But it's so hard for people. To your point, Matt, it's like people have this technology, so they think because they can, they should.
Are people using the phone as an assumed excuse? Like, well, of course I have to take this call because my phone rang. I mean, are we at that point right now?
Again, I think that goes back to just the element of common courtesy, which is not necessarily a generational thing. It's just a learned thing, that comes from, your points of teaching. One question I do want to ask you, Rocco, because you were talking about sort of, people don't notice it and people will, in a meeting, sort of, they say, you're saying that they don't, you don't think they don't see it, but you know that they see it. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Is there a risk as an entrepreneur specifically?
Okay.
Or even in life, really, of saying that right up front, saying, hey, I see what you're doing. If you want this to continue, you should do it. Is there a risk in doing that? And is that what you would prefer to do? Or do you think you have to sort of restrain that in order to maintain any level communication with the person on the opposite side.
So let me make sure I understand. So you're saying if I'm in a meeting with someone and I see their phone is on the table, me addressing it, saying, hey, like me addressing it to them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I would not. And here's why. It's not my job to babysit people.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I look at it. Like, and that may be a cruel way.
Offense too. It can't be taken offensively by other person.
Right. So I just know, like, again, these are my principles. They are not everybody else's principles.
Right.
These are just things I look for in relationship with other people. Are they giving me their full attention? And if their phone is on the table from my perspective, which again is my perspective, that means they are not, because there's a possible distraction sitting there. If it vibrates, if it blinks, if something pops up and they look down at it, if they're looking down at their phone, even if they're in the middle of a discussion with me, I do not have 100% of their attention.
Okay.
So then why would I do business with them?
Okay, so this is very timely. So as you know, I do a podcast called The Eric McKenna Project at ericmckenna.com. Long form conversation. So podcasting means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. I view podcasting as a discussion, maybe a little bit of an interview, but ultimately a conversation. When someone accepts a guest offer that we present to someone, I've never had any rules on this show. Never had any rules. That's going to change here within the next week. So our conversation is timely, and you'll see in a second. One of the things is I have guests that don't understand the concept of talking into the microphone. It's my fault. I don't, and no one's doing it intentionally. But I need to articulate that one of the expectations of me, expectations of them to be on the show, is that they have to understand they've got to be 3 to 4 inches from that microphone, hopefully at all times.
Right.
And I don't know any other way to get them to do that. Maybe I'll talk with Matt off camera. Maybe you can get some ideas. You can help me, because I'm sure you've encountered this at times over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk about that separately. The other aspect is the only other request I'm going to have, and it's going to be in written form sent out before we do the show, is I'm going to request, at bare minimum, the ringer and notifications on their phone are turned off. Yes. Preferably that and the phone flipped over if they insist on having it on the table. Mm-hmm. More preferably, have it shut off and put away so there's not even visual. We do a video show as well, too. So I try to remind my guests that they are on camera. Mm-hmm. It's not just audio. It's not just an audio podcast. It's a video talk show. So the audience is going to see them looking at their phone. I find that highly disrespectful, not just to me, but to the show, but also disrespectful to themselves, the way it visually looks.
Yep.
That has to stop. If I'm going to invest the time to have someone on the show and have this conversation and produce it, and they are agreeable to do it, I don't think it's a big ask. So, but I have not purposefully done this initially, Matt, because I didn't want to go and maybe offend somebody. But I've gotten to the point now where, I've contemplated it. Hey, this is an invitation I'm extending that they're accepting, and I don't think it's asking a lot to give me for an hour, half an hour, 90 minutes. Give me their attention so we can produce good content that people will enjoy, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot to ask.
I don't think it is either.
No.
I don't think it is, especially in a context like that, because I think one of the key aspects, and again, this differs from, day-to-day conversation and talking to people like in, like a restaurant or whatever.
Sure.
But I think there's an element of presentation that goes involved with it, especially when it comes to, something like the podcast where, you're presenting something on video, you're presenting something on audio, and those parameters do have to be set. And it's not a case of, I mean, it is a case of respect, but at the same time, it's more of it's an objective thing as well, because if a phone goes off, then you have to edit that out. It sounds just bad. And there's an objective side to it, but the subjective side applies as well.
And Rock, I'm going to go to you to get your thoughts on this. But again, I am not a person that looks around to be egreged. I mean, you know me well enough. I don't really. That's not where I take it. No. But I will tell you, after having multiple circumstances throughout the 3-year period, and just looking back on the body of work we've had, it really is kind of it's disappointing that. And then no one does it intentionally. It's just a habit. Everybody puts their phone on maybe they'll mute their phone, but it's staring at them. I've invited you to come and have this conversation with me. Give the show enough respect to give your attention for this short period of time. It shouldn't be a big ask, in my opinion.
Right.
No.
I don't know.
Eliminate the Apple Watches too. Put that in that because you can see them. Like
I never thought about that.
Yeah, like I purposely will not wear my Apple Watch to your show
I've
just
never
because
thought about that.
It'll vibrate, it'll buzz, it'll.
Well,
light
Rocco's
up.
never been. I mean, you've never.
No, I've
there's
never do
been
that.
an issue.
But I've been conscious. Like there was one time I remember I left my house to come to your show with my Apple Watch on. I turned around, went home, and put my other watch on. I forgot I had it on.
Yeah.
And I went home and switched watches because
Yeah.
I knew that even though my phone's in my pocket,
the alerts would be
the
it's a
alerts.
visual. Yeah, and,
exactly.
and again, it's
And
not
it's distracting. If I feel my wrist vibrating, it's going to distract me.
But beyond the presentation, Matt, it really comes down to the conversation because I'm all on when I sit down, when I do this show, when I do the podcast, I'm all on. I'm looking them in the eye. I'm really engaged. I want to understand. And I can tell on a few occasions when the phones were on the counter that I didn't have their attention.
Yeah, it's
and
ridiculous.
and then I start questioning why I'm doing this. Like,
Yes.
why am I doing this if they're really not invested in it? And I don't think it's an intentional thing. I think we're so ingrained to always having this distraction with us 24/7, or we're going to miss something. Well, the purpose of a podcast is to slow it down. At least my podcast, slow it down. I can't do that if you're being tugged in different directions, and you are on camera.
Right.
So it's like Matt said, there's a presentation issue there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's a little diversion here. But I'm just about ready to create this document to go out to my guests with these bare minimum requests.
Yeah.
Speak into the microphone at all times.
Yes.
Be cognizant of that. And also, put the distractions away.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's good. One, I don't think people do it with any ill intent.
No, not at all.
It's just a habit. It's a habit. And again, like I know, and maybe I shouldn't be as hard of my judgment when I look at people because it could just be an automatic response. It's just
It probably is
they're
in
not
most
even
instances.
thinking. But again, it's
It's disrespectful.
Yeah, I want people to start understanding that it does say something about you.
Yes.
It does. The nonverbal matters. And if you're sitting there
That's good.
and you come into a meeting with me that you want to talk to me, and it's one thing if I ask you to a meeting and, okay, you're giving me some time and you may have other things going on. Okay, I get it. I'm not that big of a deal. But if you schedule a meeting with me and want my undivided attention and you can't give me yours, then what's the point? Like, it's just a common level of respect. And again, that's just a problem in the world in general. Like, we've lost that decency and respect for one another.
Yeah.
And the phones have made it easy to just be distracted. Like, everybody wants to your point, Matt, like, people want the information fast. It's right here. I can just get it right now. If I get an email, I can just respond right now. I don't need to wait. Like, no, like, if you're engaged with someone, be engaged. Like, the whole point of life is about building relationships and having conversations with people. And if you live in a life full of distractions, what's the point? Like, think about that. Like,
are you ever in the now?
Right. Are you ever living in the present?
How do you feel about that? Because it's easy for him and I, based upon our age, to say that no one walks around in the now anymore. We can give examples of baseball games, concerts.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about recording a moment or saying I'm here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, and I think I'm redundant if I'm saying this again, but some of the musicians I work with over the years told me right toward the end of the close of my business, the early 2010s, that society was changing. They would look out in the audience now, and instead of seeing the fans looking at them adoringly, because that's what that is a part of the feedback musicians crave, right?
Yes.
They're now looking at people holding up phones, and they're looking at them through their phone.
Yeah.
And the musicians said there was a disconnect, and multiple musicians told me this. There is a disappointment now. How about that? And these are big musicians. that
Well,
I'm
I'll
quoting
tell
right
you.
now.
I'll say this before we go to break. I will say that there's been one concert I've been to this year that addressed that right up front. It was Jack White back at the Peterson Event Center, and I guess there's this device that they give you at the front at the gates where they put your phone into a case and they seal it shut. You still have your phone, but you cannot access it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, when I went to a comedy show, I think it was Chris Rock. They did the same thing. It was great because you were actually engaged. You were engaged in the you
Right.
weren't
Well, if you go to a
distracted.
Chris Rock show and you don't get engaged, you might get smacked in the face.
I was
gonna say,
this was a few years ago, man. This was a few years ago.
The timeliness is on point. today.
As those words were coming out of my mouth, like, oh, this is just too easy. Like, but that was a few years ago.
I like easy things,
Yeah.
right? It's,
Gave you a layup there, man.
you did give me. I need as many as I can get, buddy. Friends,
Well, so we have these smartphones to make everything easy for you.
good point, touche. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik. Weekends, actually Saturdays, I'll be more specific, 10:30 to 12:30 on 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA, 95.7 FM and 99.3 FM, always presented by our good friends at St. Barnabas and streaming live at beavercountyradio.com. And of course, Rocco, myself, and Matt will be right back.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Roe Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does, and when the time is right to proceed, not only can Roe Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting RoeMonuments.com.
I can hardly believe it was in 2015 that Mary danced back into my office. She opened my door and danced from the door to my front desk with this huge smile on her face. I'm Dr. Sean Ritchie. Since then, I've had the opportunity to help thousands of patients who suffer from numbness, burning, stabbing, pins and needles pain that they get from peripheral neuropathy, and we're getting them back to enjoying life again.
Hey, I'm Wes.
Hey, I'm Marla.
I'm Rich.
Hi, I'm Laurie.
I'm Paul.
My balance is so much better, and I'm walking again.
I'm sleeping better, and I'm walking better.
I'm sleeping and feeling my feet again.
And I'm walking again.
Hey, I'm Mary, and I'm still dancing.
Peripheral neuropathy can rob you of what you love to do, whether it be running, shopping, walking, driving, biking, or even dancing. I'm Dr. Sean Ritchie, and I've teamed up with Dr. Jared Evans to help you get your ing back. Go to marydanceden.com to find out how, or call our Beaver location at 724-940-9000. That's 724-940-9000.
Hey y'all, I'm Kelly Clarkson. Every American dreams of creating a better life for his or her family, but in some communities, those dreams face difficult challenges. When we come together to help those in need get the same opportunities as everyone else, we truly are making our country a better place to live for all of us. So look for volunteer opportunities in your community to help others achieve the American dream, all right? This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
Check out Beaver County's free online source for news, sports scores, and more. BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Maybe it's a good thing we don't record the time between commercials.
Yeah, definitely not.
I could say a few things, but I won't because we're not on the podcast. We're on live radio.
People should listen to the podcast when we're on it.
Yeah, so the podcast, the podcast, the Eric McKenna Project, ericmckenna.com. You can always reach Rocco at kozalaw.com. Rocco and I have started a series of podcasts within the podcast, a series of shows called How We See It. We recorded our first show last week, and it's a departure for the Eric McKenna Project because him and I are taking relative topics in the news and just giving our commentary. And because we generally don't do politics on the show in general, but this is an opportunity for us to stretch out a little bit. This became because it wasn't his idea or mine. We had enough people suggest that we do it, which was extremely flattering. I don't know why they want us to do this, but they do.
Yeah.
We produced the first show, put it out there. It's up there at ericmckenna.com, and the downloads and the views are incredible. So people are digging it.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah,
Fun.
a lot of fun. Not, I wouldn't want to do it every day. Every
other week.
Every 2 weeks, we're going to put one
That's
out.
what I'm
We'll
here
see.
for.
Exactly. Exactly right.
AM Beaver County on Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 9 on Beaver County Radio. See, I can do plugs too.
I want you to do it, man.
I love
Do it. Yeah. So again, but it's such a timely conversation and communication because podcasting changed the landscape for me.
Oh yeah.
It's great because it enables me to slow things down. And listen, I'm not the brightest, the sharpest tool in the tool shed, so I need to have things slowed down so I can understand fully, and then I can hopefully have something worthwhile to contribute. You see, that's just how I look at life now. So Rocco is great at modeling. Modeling was turned on to me by Anthony Robbins years in the 80s. Anthony Robbins also is coined of saying this phrase: the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of your communication. Yeah, and that's a very true statement as well, too, I believe. But I am a person that is a little different. Like, I have an odd social cue where when I'm intently listening to somebody, I will cross my arms. Now, if you listen to someone who studies modeling and nonverbal communications, that is like I'm closing inward. I'm becoming like this, I don't know if that is exactly what I'm doing, maybe. But I know that when I listen intently to someone, I tend to close my arms. When I go to articulate, I breathe, and my arms, now that might be the Italian in me, I don't know, but I start articulating with some motion with my hands and my arms. But when I listen intently, you can watch the podcast and see I do it all the time. I will. And so what does that say about me?
Well, so that's an interesting question. No, because here's why. Because it can one mean you're closed off, but I think what it means in your case, and what I sometimes do the nonverbal is you've taken in information and now you're holding it close to process it.
Interesting.
Like that's kind of how I look. Because I do that sometimes. Like if someone tells me something I really need to think through, I may sit there and I kind of just cross my arms and just rub my chin. That's my thinking pose, right? It's to you, it's like you've taken in the information. And now you're kind of hugging yourself, holding it close to process it. It's one thing if the entire conversation you were like this and you're closed off. That is a cue that because I watch you do it on the podcast, right? It's a cue that you're thinking about something. You've taken in information that you don't have a direct response to yet. You need to process it. That's typically when you do it. If I watch you,
that's very accurate.
Like that's when I
when I do this show. Yeah,
like it's your thinking and you're like, okay, what's the next? What do I need to process? What do I need to say? I do that as well. Not as much as you do, but that's part of what I do as well. I don't think that gives off the cue of I'm closed off or I'm not listening. I think
you're saying if I sat there and had the conversation that way.
Correct. If you were having a conversation like this in talking and just like this, but yours is you have an open demeanor, and the only time you do that is when, and it's not every time, it's only when you get information, when you can see your brain or your head, like, I got to process this. And you like, and you like kind of tilt your head to the side and shake your head.
Okay,
I pick up on these things, man.
Yeah, obviously so. Well, you sat across. You've sat across from me for years. I mean, did I when you've known me in a prior life when I was on air? Did I use it cross my arms?
I think you might have at least a couple times.
Okay.
I it's not something I cognitively remember,
but
I tend to remember a couple times
because I know my listening is different today than it was years prior. I'm cognitively a different listener.
Well, I think too was also there were different conversations being had. Where I think if you had a guest on, you would be more like that. Where the show that we did a lot of times was a lot more informal. So like here we're discussing deep topics and stuff like that. Where
Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy.
Yes, another SNL reference. But in the older shows, there were a lot of times where it was just sort of exactly freewheeling, and there wasn't an intensity. And I think, and I think when I see the arm being folded like that, I think that's sort of what it is. Sort of it's almost like the anti-phone on the table. It's sort of I'm listening to you. I have a reaction to what you're saying. And this is how I'm trying to process it, like Rocco was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a listening cue for me, or when I'm. Yeah, I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I've watched it.
And I've never
podcast a million times.
Well, okay, so it's very interesting. I've had it from multiple people over the last 3 years that, I've even had people tell me you shouldn't cross your arms on camera like that because it looks like you're being closed off and all that. And I just was like, wow, okay, maybe they're right.
No,
but it must be a thinking mechanism. It must be an involuntary way that I actually concentrate.
It's exactly what it is.
Very strange. Very strange.
It's your processing cue.
It's the news time,
Let's do it.
All right. Friends, you're listening to The Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Thurzik, 1230 WBVP, 1460 Super Talk, WMBA, 95.7, 99.3 FM. Always presented by our friends at St. Barnabas and streaming live at Beaver County Radio. Stay tuned for Town Hall News.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The police official blamed for not sending officers in more quickly to stop the Uvalde, Texas school shooting is the chief of the school system's small police force. That's a unit dedicated ordinarily to building relationships with the students. Preparing for mass shootings is a small part of what they normally do, but Texas does provide them with solid training. A gunman killed 19 students and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School on Tuesday. Inside, students were calling 911. Officers waited more than an hour to breach the classroom where the gunman was holed up. Ukraine's military says Russian forces have intensified their offensive in the eastern Donbass region.
Alexander Shtupun, a spokesman for the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, says Russia is seeking to gain a foothold in Lyman in Donbass, behind continued shelling and airstrikes, adding Ukrainian forces had also repelled a Russian assault on the town of Severodonetsk and forced them to retreat. Russian-backed rebels had claimed on Friday to have taken over Lyman, but statements from Ukrainian officials have suggested the city, the Donetsk region's large railway hub, is still contested. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is blasting the Biden administration for saying that the U.S. would defend Taiwan from China militarily, then backpedaling.
I don't think you have any idea what the United States policy is. And that is deeply dangerous. We need to be clear, even if our clarity is a bit ambiguous intentionally. What we don't know is what the intentions are for the United States of America today with respect to supporting the Taiwanese people.
Pompeo was interviewed this week by the Salem Radio Network. On Wall Street on Friday, the Dow was up 575 points and the Nasdaq up by 390. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and start getting cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code SALEM for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. That's promo code SALEM. Remember, use promo code SALEM for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up.
More Americans are taking to the friendly skies.
More than 2.1 million people a day on average are boarding planes in the U.S. That's about 90% of 2019 levels, and a number that's sure to grow, and fast. When travelers reach their destination, they'll be greeted with hotel rates that are up about a third from last year. Hotels are filling up faster, too.
As correspondent Rita Foley, Amazon planning to sublease some of its warehouse space because of the pandemic-fueled surge in online shopping, which has been slowing down.
As the worst of the pandemic eased, Amazon found itself with too much warehouse space and too many workers. A spokesperson for Seattle-based Amazon declined to disclose how much space the company plans to sublease.
As correspondent Jeremy House, Bloomberg News and the Wall Street Journal report that Amazon may sublet about 10 million square feet of its space. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. The jury is now considering actor Johnny Depp's defamation lawsuit against his ex-wife Amber Heard.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you now have heard all the evidence in the case.
It sounded like he said, she said, but was actually about what she wrote. The case revolves around a Washington Post op-ed in which Heard describes herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Attorney Camille Vasquez representing Depp.
There is an abuser in this courtroom, but it is not Mr. Depp. And there is a victim of domestic abuse in this courtroom, but it is not Ms. Heard.
And attorney Ben Chu says for Depp, it's never been about money.
It is about Mr. Depp's reputation.
Her attorney, Benjamin Rottenborn, says Depp sued as part of a smear campaign he launched after Heard filed for divorce.
She wanted to own her story after Johnny Depp and fit those into what other women experience, what other people experience, having accused someone of domestic abuse, and the backlash that they suffer.
I'm Ben Thomas.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Honoring Memorial Day with St. Barnabas Broadcasting.
You know, if we did tape these moments on the commercial and news breaks, we probably could sell them for a lot of money.
Oh, I'm sure it would cover the funeral costs because somebody would beat us up.
Yeah, we definitely would be off the air. We definitely would be beaten up. Yes, more than likely. No, we got Rocco. No one's beating us. Rocco around. Rocco's got our back.
That's true. That's true.
Matt, on behalf of Rocco, I want to say it on this air. This show is entirely going and moving every week, and a lot of fun because of you. We talk about this on the way back, and I'm putting you on the spot, so I know you don't like hearing this stuff, but I'm telling you, we talk on the way home usually every week. Like, man, this show just blossomed with Matt on here. Thank God Matt is here.
No, absolutely.
So,
we really appreciate it.
I mean, you make this go.
Yeah.
We have ideas and stuff, but the articulation gets stale between the two of us. We know it does, and thank you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And I thank you for allowing me to be part of the conversation.
Well, thanks for doing it. Man. Yeah, it was a stipulation. I have no problem making that public. It was a stipulation of us doing this in the beginning that Matt had to take it, and we weren't sure you were going to be available. So when he told us that you accepted it, we greatly appreciate it. Absolutely. Okay, now that we blew up his ego, back to communication. Now we communicated the superlatives to him. Is that a word? Oh, yeah. I'm up now. 1-0.
Sure.
You got to give me that one, right?
I lost count.
Superlative. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Ever since we forfeited the first two, I've lost count.
I already had 2, so it's 2-1. I keep count.
Okay.
I don't forget things.
So let me ask you both this about communication. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to ask you to be Nostradamus here for a second because, there was the birth of the smartphone. Who could envision this outside of Steve Jobs, right?
Right.
Then, there's email came before it, then texting, like real texting emerged from that. And the telephone's kind of gone now. I mean, the landline phone thing is going away. Even businesses are somehow getting rid of landline.
They just took out the last phone booth in New York City.
I saw that the last payphone has been yanked out of New York City. There was a ceremony for humans are nuts, right? There's a ceremony for it. Go figure, right?
We had one in our fraternity house in college that we destroyed with a sledgehammer. Which was pretty fun.
Oh, well, yeah. That doesn't surprise you. But I wanted, but Matt.
I love if you just slip that in like it's nothing.
Well, that's
it's
Rocco. It's Rocco.
We beat a payphone with a sledgehammer. No big deal.
Yeah. I could see Rocco swinging that
show. I didn't do it. I watched people that were not in the right frame of mind do it, and it was quite funny.
Well, you ask about the paging days when I used to have a sales territory of downtown Pittsburgh, right around 95 or so. I had pagers I was selling, but the cell phone costs were so expensive, and we only got a little bit of an allotment of a benefit, So I would go I used to park under the Steel Building and go up into the Steel Building and start my day carrying my briefcase of pagers. But there was a bank of phone booths in the Steel Building that was unbelievable. Like it was old school phone booths where you would go and you'd open the sliding door.
Oh yeah.
Close, but there was a bank of them, and they were all brass and highfalutin, and I would go in there, but I used to have to wait my turn to get into a flipping phone booth. It was nuts. and then you had the phone booths that were all connected to a pole that were low, so you could drive up to them at a parking lot, pull over, and it was right there. Are you familiar with those phone booths?
I did not realize that.
Yeah, they were often parking lots would have them like at maybe chest level because you were going to reach them from your driver's seat.
Drive-up phone?
Phone booths were a thing. Like it was really, because cell phones were not proliferated and they were out there. They were 79 cents a minute.
Yeah, only you can call 9 at night till 9. I remember 9 to 9.
Yeah, it was. I think it was. And if you were able to get the plan that was 36 and 16, 36 cents peak and 16 cents off peak. I mean, that was like the premier plan, right? But no one had that. The point being, phone booths were a thing, and so communication has come so far. Like, here's the thing: the technology's come so far, but have humans effectively become better communicators with this technology?
No.
I make the argument that we don't communicate well with each other.
No, not at all. I think technology has hampered individuals' ability to communicate effectively.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
A lot of disagreement today, Matt.
Let's have
I would say, I wouldn't say it has hampered their ability to communicate well. I just think it has taken away the necessity for them to do so.
To communicate well.
Because because think about the days of, the pay phone and, or let's just take away the phone aspect, the talking aspect of it, the written word. It feels like back when you had to write a letter to somebody, you had to write it out and, get everything right. Otherwise they weren't going to understand it. You couldn't, backspace or nothing like that. You had ink and pen and that was it. If you were,
you remember those years?
Vaguely. But if you had a typewriter, you could use a little whiteout, but the margin for error was so small. I think the margin for error has widened significantly. So it's not a matter of that they can't be more effective at communicating or that they don't have the ability to, or that their abilities have been hampered. It's more or less that because of things like autocorrect and things like, emojis or anything like that, that they don't have to try as hard to. And a lot of people have taken the full liberty of not doing that.
Maybe they don't
Let's unpack
care.
this a little bit.
Maybe they don't care.
Let's unpack this a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because I agree with the fact that you said the necessity is no longer there. So that brings me back to my point. Communication is a skill and an art that you have to use and practice to get better at. So the fact that the necessity is not there to communicate effectively means they are poor communicators because it's not a skill they practice. That's how I see it.
Because they don't want to become
correct. They're like, I don't have to. I can just do it easier. I got autocorrect. I don't need to spell. And I've been guilty of that, right?
Right.
Grammarly. I'm like, cool. I could just mess up and just click buttons and it fixes it.
So there's a phrase out there, lazy in language. I heard that a lot when I was in high school and junior high, when I would use slang. And I would slur.
What was the slang back in your days?
Slur my words. Oh, man.
Groovy.
Hip.
That's jive, man.
I'm hip. I'm hip to that, dude.
Don't be no turkey.
That goes before me, man. Jive turkey. Yeah, that goes way back before me. But when I would incorporate slang, oh gosh, when I was incorporating, cool was the big one. Like cool was the greatest word every day. Right?
Oh yeah.
But teachers back in the 70s hated us using that word all
Did they
the time.
really?
Oh man.
Wow.
Oh, at least in my little
What did they want
public
you to
school.
use as a replacement?
Excellent, great, fantastic. So then
I get it.
So then what happened was I went home. My father was the same way. Did not like me using cool. I'd go to the dinner table and I was like, man, that is so, I got the new Rush record. That is so cool. My father goes, can you find another word? So what did I do? I realized that the way I talk, the word fantastic flows out of my mouth so well.
Yeah.
I started using that all the time.
Probably to the point where it got annoying to somebody.
Oh, it got annoying to everybody. And I just kept, I dropped cool and I would go, fantastic. And it just, so again, it's not the actual word. It's the repetitive nature of anything can get old and stale.
Yeah.
Right? But
increase your vocabulary.
Anyways, back to lazy at language. Lazy at language. What about the idea of being lazy at communication?
Yeah, people are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. People are lazy in communication.
100%.
Like, and again, it's not. It doesn't take a great deal of effort to communicate effectively. It takes an incremental amount of effort above what you are doing now. To write a text message and then to write an effective text message takes maybe 3% more of your brain. Just use it. Like it, but the upside is probably a 50% reward. So just put in a little bit of effort. Like I don't get that. Like it's just, and maybe it's just I'm just simplifying it, but communication is not hard. It just takes a little bit more effort.
Words are magic.
Absolutely.
Again,
Words are
every week I reference Jim Rohn. I'm going to do it again. One of his greatest speeches on communication. Words are magic. Words are the food of the mind.
Yes.
You know, if you don't understand their value and don't use them and ingest them for their value, what is his argument was, why be human? If we're not going to really use words to articulate the human experience with each other, then we're no different than a primate.
Right. I mean, think about the power of language, right? Like I can sit there and tell you a story and say, yeah, you know, I went to my daughter's softball game last night and they lost. Or I can say, I went to my daughter's softball game and it was an amazing game. Two teams played so hard. They played through the rain. It came down to the last inning and we just couldn't pull it off because of this, this, and this.
Right.
Like, that's a different story. It's just a choice of words.
That's the beauty of the human condition. You just described it right there. It does come back to that.
Yes.
I mean,
and I'd rather hear people use language in a way that is, you know, creative and delightful and inspiring.
Yeah, but then how did rap music start then?
We're going to go on a whole other rabbit hole, man. Let's save that for episode 12.
I'm sorry.
Well, but that's a lot of music in general, right? Like they just, it to me, is it really music?
Well, death metal as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, like words and language are it's the most powerful tool you can use. Like it
it's
really
everything.
is. And
everything.
And I think when people are lazy in communication, they're doing themselves a disservice and the people to whom they're communicating a disservice. I heard
that's how it should be.
Okay.
That's how it should be. However, again, going back to my point about the levels of, you know, necessity not being there, and I think there is a level or a certain sort of group where you don't, you know, if you're communicating with somebody in a lazy way and they don't give you any sort of flack for it, then it's sort of a you know, a communication bond there. It's not based on anything that's societally good, but it's a bond that's there. So if people can get away with it in that regard, then there's really and again, I'm not discouraging anything that you guys are saying. I agree wholeheartedly, but I think there's a lot of people out there that say, well, I text my friends like this all the time and they don't seem to have a big deal with it. And that's true.
Yes, the issue is going to be what you want out of life. And it's sometimes when you're younger, you can't determine what you want. But when you come of age, if you want more out of life, you have to become more. And to become more, your articulation and communication needs to improve to obtain more in life. It doesn't necessarily mean monetary. Experiences, to attain more experiences, to attain more relationships.
It doesn't have to be a sniffy thing, you know, where it's just like you have to, you know, make sure you don't fold your arms and use words like cool. You know, it doesn't have to be that complicated, but
I did okay.
But you're right. There does have to be this sort of, you know, cognitive, you know, sort of discipline within yourself to say, okay, I'm in this situation. Here's how, and it goes back to Rocco's
step up
point.
my game.
It goes back to Rocco's point. You know, it takes a certain skill to communicate. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to communicate. It takes a lot of skill to communicate properly to as many people as possible.
Absolutely.
Great point.
Words matter. The choice of words matter. The way you use your hands and your body with the words you choose matter.
Words matter because words, as we know in this society, words can inflame society. Words can start wars. History will show you that. Words can start wars.
Absolutely. Words can end careers.
Careers.
Start careers
and relationships.
Words can inspire change. Words can be a catalyst. Words can be things that motivate you to change your life. Like there's been many quotes I've heard over my life that just resonated with me and moved me so much that I made changes just from words, like not from, and that's from just reading words. Like books have changed my life. And that is just a person putting words on paper from their perspective. When I read those words, it changed my complete outlook on life and changed the way I operated. That's how powerful words are. So think about that as every one of us in this room, everyone listening has the power to change people, has the power to be a catalyst of something positive, to create impact by simply the words you use. That is a huge responsibility we have as people. So choose wisely.
And I don't think we often reflect on how important that responsibility, especially as parents. It's a huge responsibility.
Yes.
All right, friends, the Rocco Koza, Eric McKenna, Matt Durzik, The Entrepreneur Life. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We'll come back for our last segment, right?
Yep.
We'll right back.
Falling in love is one thing. Having anxiety about falling is a whole different subject. If you or a family member are concerned about falling, and yes, either up or down the stairs, or maybe even out of bed, St. Barnabas has a special message and some ideas just for you. Years of experience in working with people who are prone to falls has given St. Barnabas special expertise in this area. Call them at 724-443-0700 and learn about ways that you can begin to feel more confident and safe, including suggestions that you can implement right now into your daily routine. Call St. Barnabas at 724-443-0700. For many years now, St. Barnabas has been helping people fall in love, that is, with their new, better life, a longer life, a risk-free life. Call St. Barnabas now at 724-443-0700 or visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com and learn more about living longer and better.
95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire in Beaver, the William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith, uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. It's radio that's apart from the ordinary and powered by St. Barnabas. 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA.
All right, we're back. This communication discussion is something that could go on for weeks because there's so, and we didn't even
like aliens.
We could talk about aliens.
Let's
right?
we have those in the archives. I'm sure
they're out there.
We did a couple alien shows on the Eric McKenna show.
Well, 4 in a row from what I remember.
4 in a row?
4 in a row.
Yeah.
Those are like 3-hour shows,
really
right?
Fun. Well, 2.5, 3, something like that.
2.5 hours.
So you spent 10 hours
talking about aliens.
Yeah.
I don't think the calls were unbelievable.
I don't think I spent 10 hours of my life thinking about aliens.
Well, I mean, that's the
now
difference between you and I.
You like aliens.
We do podcasts. We have an alien
with UFO shows.
We have a UFO expert.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I think it is. I
really is.
I think we do everything tongue in cheek, but we bring enough sincerity to what we're doing.
Yeah,
but that for a word, sincerity.
No, you can't.
I don't get credit for that.
Did I just say nope?
It's a good word, but it's not a big one.
No.
Communication, and we're going to plan for next week too. We may bring this back a little bit.
Yeah,
go a different direction with it, but. Wrapping it all up into entrepreneurship, my point initially was that you may have communicated a certain way through your life, and it got you to this point where you're thinking about being an entrepreneur. Just be humble enough, or consider being humble enough to look inwardly and say, do I have the communication skills to maybe take my life to the next level through commerce?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do that, do I need to take communication seriously? Maybe you've been in sales and had a great run in corporate America, And maybe you're a good communicator and you're going to come at it a little easier. But some folks might not have that background and, might have had a desk job or an internal finance job that didn't require a lot of communication. Be humble enough to say, hey, what do I need to do communication-wise to take my presence to the next level?
Yeah, and it's a skill you can learn, right? So don't get discouraged if you're not a good communicator. Like I think I'm an effective communicator, but I was not always that way. I was a shy kid, and I learned over time how to communicate differently. And in a lot of,
Can't imagine you was just shy.
I was a shy kid, man. I was definitely shy. Wow. So yeah, I was. I mean, that's just me being honest. But learning to communicate effectively, I decided to become a student of people, just watch people, and try and understand and really thoughtfully watch and observe. And that has helped me tremendously over my career. Just being present and engaged in the moment with people. If you just do that, like no distractions, get into a conversation with someone and just be there, be present, and be engaged, the things you will learn about communication are invaluable. Trust me, like that's what you have to do. And there's books you can read about different types of communication skills and how to active listening and how to close sales. But the essence of it is just being present and engaged. That's what communication's about. And then you can get into word choices and different things like that. Like again, we could go on for 4 weeks talking about this. There's so many different nuances to communication as an art form. But don't be discouraged if you don't think you're an effective communicator. You're just not an effective communicator yet. And that's the operative word. Like I tell anything I can't do, I never say I can't do it. I just say I can't do it yet.
I also would warn against confusing an expanded vocabulary with quality communication.
Yeah, don't think you have to use the big words that Eric does all the time.
that Eric butchers.
He does,
but no,
I butcher every week.
But to your point, like that's a really good point. Because I think a lot of people think if they use, especially my profession, right? I got to use the big words. I'm like, no, like my job is to make things super simple to my clients. I'll handle all the stuff in the background. I need to make sure they understand and they feel safe and secure with me and that the process will be simple. I don't need to use big words.
Right.
You don't have to communicate by saying these big, ridiculous words. Like, no, that's what I'm saying. Like language matters. Like words matter. If you can say something effectively with 10 words, but you use 50, is that really effective? No, it's not.
That's a good point.
And I think too, going to your point, you have to communicate in a way, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you have to communicate in a way that people understand. And using big words is probably the best way to make sure they don't understand you.
Great point.
Absolutely.
And I see that a lot too in business. For decades I have, where there's a confusion and people conflate great communication with an expanded vocabulary. And in reality, they actually work at times, conversely from each other.
Absolutely. I mean, what taught me the most about the power of words when I did my TED Talk. We can sit here and talk for 2 hours, right?
So, but he won't say it, so I'm going to say it. If you have not seen Rocco Koza's TEDx talk, it's on YouTube, and I strongly suggest you watch that, please.
But the point is, like, I had 12 minutes to get a message across. Literally every single word I used mattered.
It's an interesting exercise.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I can talk for 2 hours and get on stage or just randomly get up and talk. No problem about any topic. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Coming up, and because I knew what I wanted to say, I was passionate about it.
12 minutes goes quick.
But I had 12 minutes and so many words to get it out. So every word choice mattered.
Had to wait.
And that's when I knew how powerful words are. They can move people.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
It can move mountains, and it also can, if as positive as words can be, is as negative the effects of words
Absolutely
can be.
Right, man.
Sometimes I think you can do harm to your business by not choosing correct words and the correct articulation and correct emphasis. Conversely, an expression conveyed correctly can open up the keys to the kingdom for you.
Absolutely right, man.
And that's a good lesson for life, too.
It really is.
So before we close down here, I want to remind our audience, you can reach Rocco at kozalaw.com. You can check him out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
TikTok.
Really?
He's I
Yeah,
don't
man,
understand
yes.
that one either, but
It's-
he's
it's-
not. He's
there's
out
some
there.
legal videos out there.
I
man.
know. I get
Short
it.
informational, educational.
That's my
tips.
generational device, TikTok.
Yeah, I don't even have that download. I don't even
A little
know,
too
I don't
old
even
for
know what
that.
that is. Also,
Too
link
old.
you can for our business and
LinkedIn,
client
yes.
folks. LinkedIn, he's big there. You can reach me at ericmckenna.com. My realtor practice, the podcast, some old Boogie Street Guitars history, which is that those pages have been really busy. So I guess
Yeah.
my old clients are kind of seeing what the heck I'm doing today, which is flattering. A lot of reference material there. But the podcast, all the episodes are there. There's also a location on there of all of our prior shows.
Yeah.
Radio shows are all there for reference to, and they're getting an incredible amount of hits. So
Love
that's
it.
flattering as well.
Thank you for
too.
listening to us.
Yeah, they don't listen to us on air, obviously, but I mean, my kids don't listen to me. No one listens to me. I just
Hopefully
do.
my kids are
I just
listening.
do stuff. But again, ericmckenna.com and of course kozalaw.com, and both of us extend a huge thank to Mr. Matt
Absolutely.
Durzik again. Excellent show.
Yeah.
Communication. We can do this again, and we may
Yeah.
expand it a bit next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks to everybody in Beaver County for giving us a little bit of your Saturday. We'll be back again next week at 10:30. Have a fantastic week and be good to each other.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Koza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship have been provided by Rocco Koza and Eric McKenna. Tune in next Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for another edition of Your Entrepreneur Life right here on Beaver County Radio.
The show you've waited